Hello! How's everybody doing today? I certainly hope you're doing well. It's time for another edition of Story Time. And I like to let people know whether or not it's a true story. For the most part, it's not a true story, but there's parts of it that are very true. And I'll let you know what those parts are. The name of this story is called E.L.S.E. E.L.S.E. So let's go ahead and begin, shall we? You see, there was a gentleman by the name of Bob. And Bob had been in business as a furniture salesperson for about, I don't know, over 20 years. Bob was in his late 40s, and he decided, you know what, he's tired of being a salesperson. He wants to open up a furniture store himself and sell furniture to everybody. But he didn't want to sell furniture that is just crappy furniture. He doesn't want to sell furniture that's made of particle board and, you know, some sort of veneer. No, he wants to sell high-end furniture. Furniture that is imported from Italy and Europe and the Baltic states. So that's what he did. He purchased this huge warehouse with a beautiful showroom floor. It had all kinds of different furniture. Had teak furniture. Even had wicker, but even though wicker is supposedly like a lower class of furniture, he still had it because there are some nice pieces there. He also sold artwork. Big old frames. Some of the frames were hundreds and hundreds of dollars. The artwork wasn't that great, but the frames were really nice. See, old Bob, even though he took out a couple of loans to get everything started, he had a pretty good, let's say, clientele. Because his clientele was middle class to upper middle class, and of course the upper class. He didn't really mess around with rent to own, none of that nonsense. You know, if you got cash, or if you can pay for it right now, then hey, that's the way to go. So, Bob had been in business for about 9 months. And he'd seen it about all. Because when he was a salesperson, he saw people stealing things. He saw people trying to finagle and take advantage of salespersons. He used to see salespeople take advantage of customers. He's seen it all, right? But he was a people person, and he knew how to talk to people, and he knew how to make the sale. And even though he had all these other salespeople that worked for him, for the most part, he'd walk the floor and make sure everything was copacetic, and make sure that all the customers were happy, and make sure all the deliveries were being made, and make sure that the different pieces of furniture that were being ordered, either online or some other way, were being shipped to the proper place. And if there was any customer complaint, well, he'd handle it right away. He sure would, because he was the boss. He owned the furniture store. So, it was a Wednesday afternoon at about 3 o'clock, and, well, this gentleman pulled up in a 1972 Ford truck. It was red, had a little white stripe down the center. And he pulls up, and, I don't know, this fellow's probably in his early 70s, maybe mid-70s. And he gets out of that truck. He's not dressed so good. No, he's not dressed good at all. He's kind of in some raggedy jeans and a torn shirt, that sort of thing. And he waltzes in, he starts perusing around, he's looking at all the furniture. And, of course, you know, all of these salespeople, they just ignore him because he doesn't look the part, you know. He doesn't look like he can afford anything because of his appearance. But anybody that has ever been in sales knows damn good and well, you never underestimate your customer. You never know. You never know. For all you know, the customer has more money than the owner. You just never know. But of course, that's an easy thing to say when you're trying to convey a certain statement to potential salespeople that may work for you. It's totally different in real life because people assume. People believe, people think that, this guy could not afford that table over there. Of course not. It's $1,800 table. That was imported from Spain. Oh, no. I mean, look at the chairs, they're hand-carved. He can't afford that. Come on. There's no sense in even walking up to him saying, can I help you? Look at the guy. He's dressed like a bum. So Bob kind of like peruses over and goes over to the older gentleman and he says, can I help you find something? The older gentleman says in a raspy voice, no, I'm good. Thank you. I'm just looking around. So Bob just kind of like wanders on, looking at him, thinking, what is he doing taking up space in my store? The guy drives up in a 1972 Ford, red with a little white stripe down the side. Right? He's wearing old jeans and a ripped up shirt. He's taking up space in my floor, just waltzing around. I mean, the other folks in my store, maybe they think that this guy's homeless. So he just lets it go. And then one of the salespeople came up to the elder gentleman and says, sir, is there something I can help you find? No, I'm just looking around. Okay. He just kind of like waltzes around and goes about his business. So Bob comes back to the elder gentleman and says, is there anything in particular that you're looking for? And he just kind of ignores him. And then the older gentleman looks at him and says, how much you want for that chair? And he goes, well, that chair there, and then he looks at the old man, and then he looks at the chair, and he looks at the old man, and he goes, well, chances are, Pops, that chair is worth more than your life. And the old man is furious. He goes, what'd you say to me, son? He goes, that chair is probably worth than your entire life, your entire existence. The man turns around, walks straight out the door, gets in his truck, drives away. Well, that was a big mistake. It sure was. That was a huge mistake. First of all, you don't talk to a customer like that. I don't care if you're the owner or not. Second of all, again, you never underestimate your customer. No matter what they're wearing, no matter how they look, you just don't do it. It's not good business sense. And in Bob's particular case, he's going to find out very quickly why that was a very bad idea. Now let's break away from the story just a moment and go into a factual statement, something that really occurred back in the late 80s to mid 90s, and it carried and extended through 2005. There was an organization called E.L.S.E, E.L.S.E, and it really did exist. It's called the Earth Liberation Front. And what that was is these were eco-guerrillas that essentially took their anger out on industry. And they took their anger out on these monstrous corporations and SUVs and lodges and corporations that felt the need that they were going to build these lodges and these apartment complexes and homes and businesses and all this sort of stuff in these wilderness areas. There was a situation that occurred in, I believe it was Aspen, where these guys burnt down the entire facility. These E.L.S.E members also went into these car dealerships that were selling SUVs and defaced all of them with spray paint. That is a true story. That really did exist, and E.L.S.E was the true anons of their time because they had absolutely no structure. They didn't answer to anyone. They had no leadership. And all of these eco-guerrillas, if you will, They acted independently, but for the same cause. So this is a true story. And this has everything to do with E.L.S.E. E.L.S.E. So let's go back to the story, shall we? So as the old man drives away, Bob just kind of like looks down and shakes his head like, bum, right? Well, you see, about 2 months later, it started to get a little cold. Started to get a little chilly. It's starting to snow outside and such. Of course, it's daylight savings in the wintertime. Bob goes out to his truck there himself. He had a brand new truck. Brand spanking new. Beautiful truck. And there's a little bit of snow on the windshield there. Well, he gets out a scraper and he starts scraping the snow off and such. And as soon as he gets down to the glass, what does he see? He sees spray paint that says E.L.S.E. E.L.S.E. It's like, what? Gets his scraper there, and he's trying to scrape off this spray paint on his windshield to no avail. He's got to go back into the warehouse and go get himself a razor blade so he can scrape off the spray paint so he can drive home. Right? He finally gets all the paint off. Here it is, it's snowing and carrying on and about. It's starting to really come down too. Well, you see, old Bob there, he lived in a gated community. But did that matter? No, that didn't matter either. Because as soon as he drove into his little gated community, and he was turning the corner there to drive into his driveway, and he was just about to hit the garage door opener. Oh no, he didn't want to do that, because here we go again. In spray paint on the garage door, it was spray painted E.L.S.E. E.L.S.E. Why, he can't rightly take a razor blade scraper and scrape that off now, can he? Oh, he's furious. So he took his car and he just parked it in front of the garage and figured, you know what, he's going to have to call the police. That's what he's going to have to do. And I tell you what, it's snowing like a son of a gun now. It sure is. I mean, it's coming down. He gets up on his computer, he starts perusing around the internet, looking for the meaning of E.L.S.E. E.L.S.E. He's not finding anything. He's waiting for the police to come by so that way he can fill out a formal report. They take pictures, that sort of thing. And again, he lives in a gated community, so he doesn't even understand how this happened. And he doesn't know what else means. Oh no. So the police come out, he fill out a report, he signs his name to the affidavit of exactly what happened. Because of course it was on his truck there, but for him to drive his truck home he had to scrape it off with a razor. So he had no physical evidence of that, not even a photograph. Right? So again, Bob gets up on the computer, he starts perusing around the interwebs to see if he can find out what's the meaning of E.L.S.E. E.L.S.E. Darndest thing. And he starts looking around, and he can't seem to find the meaning of else. He looks out his window there, and it is snowing like you just can't even believe. We're talking these big old flakes like the size of quarters, you know what I mean? The kind of snow that when you walk out, you got so much snow on you, when you go like this, in about 3 seconds you just got as much, right? Oh, it's coming down. Well, see, old Bob, he's getting ready to go to bed. It's about 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. He goes into the kitchen, all of a sudden he hears this. Somebody broke one of his windows. Right? He races into the other room, right where his computer is. The wind is blowing in. Snow is piling up in his living room there because the big old window's been broken. And there's a brick there with a piece of paper wrapped around it and a rubber band that says E.L.S.E. Oh man, he's furious now. He's got to call the police yet again, make another report. Somebody threw a brick through his window with a piece of paper wrapped around it. He looks out the window to see if he can see any footprints. He kind of sees some footprints, but here we go again. It is snowing so hard that those footprints are quickly disappearing. And by the time the police get out there, right, they're all gone. Here he's got this brick. So Bob goes out into the garage, he gets himself a big old piece of plywood, and he puts up the plywood, and he does the best he can until he can get his window fixed. And it's all based around E.L.S.E. E.L.S.E. What does it mean? Oh man, there's something else. There's something else. Well, once Bob gets all that stuff and he puts up the board there, he tries to nestle down, he's got his metal protector nearby. Sure does. Just in case. He wakes up in the morning, he arranges for somebody to come and fix the window. But he's got to head out to work. So he contacts the people at the gate because he's in a gated community. Contacts a little guard post and say, hey, listen, keep an eyeball out. You know, if you could, every so often, maybe drive by my place. You're supposed to be fixing my window, carrying on. Bob drives into his workplace there, into the parking lot. Everything seems to be okay. All the windows are still there, even though his windows at home aren't. He opens up the door to his business, and as soon as he walks in, what does he see? All of his couches, all of his pristine furniture are spray painted with E.L.S.E. Oh boy, what is going on? Could it be that old man? Nah, that couldn't happen, could it? I mean, he was 72 years old or such. He's driving that old 1972 Ford. It was red with a white stripe down the side. He couldn't be responsible, could he? Now he's got to make another police report. Now he's got to file some big old claim. He's got to shut down his store. He's got to replace all the furniture that's got all this spray paint on. It says E.L.S.E. He can't figure out. He's going to go monitor the security cameras. There's nothing on that. How in the hell do these people get in? He doesn't know what to do. He's furious. He makes yet another police report. See, old Bob, he knew somebody that worked for the FBI a long time ago. Even the guy was retired. It wasn't a big deal. He could still get information and find out things. Maybe he had friends in the department. He calls that guy up. He goes, man, I got a big problem. Somebody spray painting E.L.S.E. everywhere. E.L.S.E. on my car, and then on my garage door. And then they throw a brick through one of my windows. Wrapped around a brick, it's a piece of paper with a rubber band, says E.L.S.E. Come to my work, and there's E.L.S.E. all over my furniture. E.L.S.E. on my windshield. What in the hell is going on? His buddy does look into it. And they try to find out if there's some sort of correlation between what is happening to Bob and maybe somebody else in the city. And it's not. But here's the really funny part. His friend, who used to be working for the FBI, he did come across, through some sort of really deep research, that the same incident with E.L.S.E. was happening in Florida, and Memphis, and Atlanta, and D.C., and Los Angeles, and San Francisco, and Denver, and Phoenix, all over the United States. But the strangest thing is, all of the victims were upper middle class. Were upper class. Something just, what? They couldn't figure it out. And his friend that used to work for the FBI did a very detailed timeline of exactly the times in which these occurred. And the funniest thing is, there was an attack that occurred with E.L.S.E in Memphis, Tennessee and Phoenix, Arizona, 18 minutes apart. Well, how is that possible? That means this is an organization. That means that there's more than one person involved. That means that this is a group of people. So his buddy that worked for the FBI, used to work for the FBI, he starts perusing on the internet and the deep web. He starts going to 4chan and 8chan and Reddit and Twitter and all these different websites and the forums and all that stuff. Can't find a trace of E.L.S.E. Nobody knows what it means. So about 6 months later, Bob doesn't have any more problems. He gets all the furniture replaced. His insurance covers everything. Gets his garage door fixed. Gets the window fixed. That was fixed months ago. He's back to doing business. Saturday afternoon, 1 o'clock. Who drives up? 73-year-old man now. In a 1972 Ford truck. Red with a white stripe right down the side. This time he's dressed a little bit better. He's in slacks. An old beat up shirt. Right? Sneakers and slacks. I mean, something else, right? Oh, Bob remembers this guy. He sure does. Because it sure is funny that this guy shows up the same day which all this nonsense occurred. But there's no way he could be involved. No way. But you see, the old man wasn't by himself. He was with his grandson. Oh, yeah. That's the darndest thing. See, his grandson's about 25 years of age. He wasn't dressed so great either. He had like blue jeans on. They're all dirty, you know, holes in the knees, sneakers, and carrying on. He's walking in there with his grandpa. They're looking at furniture. Bob walks up to him and says, "Can I help you, sir?" He kind of remembers him. "No, we're just looking around." He's looking at that same chair. It's not the exact same chair because that one had like E.L.S.E all over it. But it had been replaced. So he goes up to Bob again. He says, "How much for the chair?" Bob doesn't dare say what he said last time. He sure doesn't. Because you just never know, do you? You never know. He goes, "Well, that chair right there came from Spain. That chair right there is about $1,800. That's hand-carved. And the cushion there was handmade as well. And it's one of a kind." And the old man says, "Wrap it up. I'll take it." Oh, Bob's surprised. He can't believe it. Here this old man just drives up 1972 Ford pickup truck, this red with white stripe, dressed like a bum. His freaking grandson is dressed worse than he is. And he's gonna go pay cash for $1,800 chair that's one of a kind. What? So he calls a couple of people from the warehouse to wrap it up for him, pat it up real good, put a nice little box, load it up on his truck. And then Bob makes some sort of comment. As they're setting it all up in the box in preparation to have it uploaded to the old man's truck, Bob said some sort of remark to him like, "Now, did you want to play cash or were you going to finance this?" First of all, you're dealing with a 72-year-old man. Second of all, he's probably old school. You don't know for sure, but chances are, if somebody says they're going to purchase something, you don't start talking about financing. You don't know until you know. Until the person asks that sort of question, you don't assume. Here we go again. So his grandson interjects and says, "Excuse me, sir. He said that he was going to purchase the damn thing. He didn't say anything about finance. Man, you are something else." And Bob just kind of looked. He's like, "What'd you say?" He said, you're something else, bud. Else. You mean like E.L.S.E? Like that kind of else? And the young man said, is there something else? He goes, I'll be right back. Hang on a second. Guys, before you load up that chair, hang on just a second. Just wait right here. He goes back in the back room. He calls up his FBI friend. He goes, this kid just said something else to me. So? What does that got to do with anything? Well, remember, I mean, there was spray paint on my... And it was the same old guy, and how do I know... And that guy goes, dude, settle down. What are you're going off. Calm yourself. There's no correlation. I mean, that's English language. We always say somewhere else, someone else, something else. What's the big deal? He hangs up the phone on him. He raises back. The old man, he's got cash in hand. He goes, now I told you. I got cash in hand. I want to purchase a chair. Let's get it done. And then he's like, okay, all right. Well, the young man, the 25-year-old young man, is sitting there conversing with his grandpa, whispering off to the side, little this, little that. Right? And the old man takes that money, puts it right back into his pocket. And the young kid goes up to him, he goes, you know something? You're so rude to my granddad. You're a something else. And you know something else? We're going to buy from someone else. Later, they get in the 1972 Ford red truck with a white stripe down the center. They get in and drive away without the chair. That's something else, isn't it? It sure is. Wow. You see, by this time, hell, it's springtime. Creeping up into summer. I wonder what's going to happen with Bob when he goes to go home. I wonder if you can guess what's going to happen. And you probably about guessed right. Bob went out to his truck and he was examining his windshield and everything looked good. He was examining all the windows around, everything looked good. He went to get in his truck and take off. Well, he couldn't take off. You know why? He had 4 flat tires. You believe that? 4 flat tires. All tires are flat. And in white chalk it says E.L.S.E. It's the darndest thing. Do you know anybody with 4 spare tires? I was just curious. No? Me neither. So he calls somebody to come out and fix his tires. About 2 hours later, he drives home. He looks at his garage door. There's nothing on there. It's a brand new garage door he had to replace because somebody else did that crap, right? He opens his garage door. As soon as he opens his garage door, on the wall inside the garage, it says E.L.S.E. It sure does. Alright, he's had about enough of this. He's got to call the police again. But this time he's going to report the old man and the grandson. That is the connection for sure. It has to be. It was the connection at the beginning, and it was the connection now. It has to be. How did someone get into his house? He's got top-notch security. How did somebody get into the gated community to get into his house again? Police come out and he fills out the affidavit. He signs it up real good. Oh, he's pissed off. He is so pissed off. He's lost thousands upon thousands of dollars because he keeps running his pie hole and he keeps saying things inappropriately to potential customers, not knowing who those customers are, what their background is. They don't know nothing. All they know is that they drive a 1972 Ford pickup truck, red with white stripe. That's it. Oh, he's mad. He gets up on the computer. He's looking for E.L.S.E. 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 Where the hell's it at? He calls up his FBI, the guy that used to work for the FBI. He's calling him up. What the hell's going on? They flattened all my tires. I got E.L.S.E. all over the tires and little white chalk. I come home, open the garage door, and they got E.L.S.E. inside my... What happens next? All of his power. Everything powers down. He's like, man, what is going on? What is going on? So Bob gets up, walks out, but it's summertime, so it doesn't get dark till 9 o'clock, right? He walks out, goes to the panel outside, and what's wrong with that? Yeah, they got E.L.S. written on the power panel. Somebody just flipped the little switches there, right? In between his garage and the house, right? And it's got written E.L.S. in spray paint. He's about out of his mind. He's got called police yet again. Here we go again. It's driving him out of his mind. He's out of his mind. What the hell does E.L.S. mean? E.L.S.E. Pulls up the security cameras from his home. Don't see anything. Can't figure it out. He pulls the security cameras from his work of the old man and the young man walking in. He does have that. He contacts police again, gives them the description of the vehicle, which is 1972 Ford red with a white stripe down the center. The elder man looked like he was in his 70s, and his grandson. They got him on camera, right? So, the police do locate the old man, and they do locate the 25-year-old grandson, too. And during the interrogation, very strange. The old man looked at the officer and said, I know my rights, and you're going to have to talk to someone else. That's all he said. That was a waste. So what do they do now? Well, they start talking to the 25-year-old because he's going to be a little bit more naive. He's not going to know his rights, right? He was raised in a different era where there is no privacy, there is no constitution, all that nonsense, right? Wrong. Because that young man says, I know my rights, buddy. And you're going to have to talk to someone else. That's it. They can't hold him. They can't charge him. What are they going to hold him for? What are they going to charge him with? Because they use the word else. Well, wait a minute. Everybody uses the word else. I mean, it's very common. You got somewhere else, someone else, right? Else is, I mean, someone else's, somewhere else's. What's the big deal? And what does it mean? Monty knows what it means. I sure do. I sure do. Yep. And there's about 417 people nationwide that knows what it means too. And they just all happen to be upper middle class to upper class. One of them was even a senator. You believe that? Something else, I tell you. Something else, isn't it? That's the darndest thing. Well, what to do? Bob is so flipped out. He is so tripped out by all of this that there's so many other people involved nationwide. It just seems very funny that all this started when he started talking trash and being condescending and disrespectful to a 72-year-old man that inquired about one of his chairs. That is something else. What does it mean? Well, here's the thing. You see his FBI friend? He kind of like came across a breakthrough. He found out on one of the forums on the internet the meaning of else. There was only one post made. Only one. And that post was made about 6 weeks ago, giving the proper identification for the meaning of else. And it made the statement that else stands for. Everyone lives somewhere. Everyone. Wow, that's neat, isn't it? Yeah. So basically what it boils down to is sometimes you got to be really careful in life of who you piss off. Because I tell you what, things can happen. It's really something else. I'm Monographed, and if you can't speak freely, you're simply not free. Have a good day.